This month is the month of Yalu and Nanshan, first major land battles of the war. Welcome everyone to the best YouTube history and social class of all time. I gonna use epic poem of MikadoName for what happened in the last month. Ah, my friend, give me the news of Japanese triumph, who took Korea from the enemy as that noble champion rescuing a deer from fangs of wolf, came from water to soil like a lion, by the winds met a bullet, a volcano rose up. When Russians saw this black day, realized they are in the grasp of that mighty hand, so evacuated Korea and went far. So gods and lords of Korea came together and declared they are under command of Japanese Sultan, for he is fit to empire. He is true owner of Manchuria and Korea. So now, current month, with me, Baron Benjamin, just like other months, really. I'm alone. Final attempt for blocking Port Arthur took place on the night of the 3rd of May 1904 under the command of Commander Hayashi Mineo. In the face of intensive Russian preparations, no black ship was able to approach the harbor, and about half of the 158 volunteers involved in the action, including Hayashi, were lost. All in all, the Imperial Japanese Navy spent 17 black ships and the lives of about 100 volunteers in these futile attempts to block the harbor of Port Arthur. Tokuhei Hachiro, however, declared that the final mission had been successful, thus clearing the way for the landing operations of the Second Army in the nearby Pitsuvo 2 days later. So we're going to Yalu and a little teeny back to Yalu. We need to do that really. For occupying Yalu Islands, for placing artillery in them, to be exact, in islands of Shimalindo and Chipolito, it was necessary to get Russian forces get out of the island of Osekite. So as we saw on the 25th of April, Japanese 2nd Division marched to Shimalindo, in the way faced some mild Russian resistance. In 3 days, they made a line of posts on the right bank of the river, which were 3 kilometers, I don't know the mile, far from Russian position. After some conflicts, some Japanese regiments crossed some main branches of the river, and in result, Russian forces withdrew from Leutzen and Hosen. Second branch met with Russian expedition and artillery forces near Shimalindo Island and Tonteo. So at last, in 28th of April, Japanese army get the order for crossing the river. So Kuruki at last crossed the river with 12 regiments, 6 cavalry squadron, 6 battery of artillery and machine gun, 3 special regiment, and smaller independent cavalry with artillery and fast-paced mortar, in total 40,000 strong. Some Japanese engineers threw 10 bridges. The purpose was to occupy Hosen Hill, aka Tiger Hill, which Russians evacuated to its stronghold. On the other side, The eastern detachment of Russian army consisted of 3rd Siberian Army Corps, supported by Trans-Baikal Cossack Brigade under Major General Pavel Mishchenko. The combined Russian fighting forces amounted to 16,000 riflemen, 2,350 cavalry, 640 mounted Scots, 48 field guns, 8 mountain guns, and 6 horse artillery guns. The thing is, Zasulich did not exert much effort to learn more about Japanese positions, nor did he much do and kill his own. Crocky decided to attack on 1st of May, 3 days after his forces finally succeeded in emplacing at the front. As early as 29th of April, Lieutenant General Inoue Hikaru, 12th Division, accomplished its task of clearing the high ground up to the Ai River and defeated the Sulich, which did not concentrate his forces. On the 3rd, Japanese forces fired with 72 cannons and 30 mortars, which annihilated Russian artillery, and in process General Kajalensky injured from the head. Just Russian positions in Torrenchen get 400 cannon fires. At the same time, for 20 minutes, Japanese Navy bombarded Russian positions because of the Russian commandery gave attention to the right, and so Japanese main forces at the 8 p.m. crossed easily. In response, General Kaczynski sent his 22nd Regiment to Joshinko and 2 others to the Yagu line. General Chebovsky ordered to counterattack. The Japanese first branch of forces went right toward Russian left, where they had heavy artillery. So, in the morning of the 1st, Crocky began a full-scale attack, committing his 3 divisions while crossing the narrow waters of the Ai. Fog was everywhere, and Japanese artillery began, but Crocky realized that had no effect, so ordered mass assault to the Russian right, aka Torrenchon-Yogo line. Very soon, under Japanese 12th General Grepov retreated from Hamtang. At the same time, special forces of Japan charged to Magopushan Tua line, and Japanese artillery silenced them. From the fear of circlement, Gromov retreated once again. His hope was to reinforce with forces of Yoshiko, but they were almost circulated too. Many Russian forces in the disorder which followed lost their way and faced with Japanese military, so Gromov lost most of his supplies and cannons. For his decision, Gromov was later court-martialed. He was exonerated, but later committed suicide. On the other hand, General Kaczynski retreated orderly. Further desperate attempts by Russian forces to form near guards collapsed under local Japanese superiority, whereas the hesitant Zasulich made no stand even at the strategically important town of Fengwancheng, the Hojo. I'm gonna call it Hojo. Japanese army charged from almost everywhere and anywhere. General Kaczynski tried very hard to rally his soldiers, but after his success to doing so, under Japanese cannon fire from just 1,000 foot further, he forced to retreat and reinforced Hill 179, but Japanese followed them. One of Russian high-ranking officers went to the priest and they're both killed. That's somehow important or famous story, really. I don't know. That's in Russian newspapers of the time, so I included it. So Hojo occupied on the 5th of May. Although Japanese did not pursue their demoralized opponents, who retreated northwards towards Liaoyang, foreshadowing, thereby allowing the Japanese Second Army to begin landing in Pitzovo. Russian casualties numbered about 2,700 men, including 500 prisoners of war, whereas the Japanese lost 1,063 killed and wounded. The Russians lost also 21 guns and 8 machine guns altogether. On this day, Nikolai Skridlov left Port Arthur for Mukden, and Second Japanese Army landed in Pitsuvo, as we saw, which advanced toward Kwantung Peninsula and Nanshan under General Stossel. In the middle, the Russians are under Stossel, not Japanese, of course. The middle of Yalu battle, on the 2nd to be exact, Michizura Nozu took command of the 4th Army and he landed in Tsukushan 19th of May. Another general which promoted was Nogi Maresuke, which get command of 3rd Army. In early of May 1904, the Manchurian Army was divided into 3 regiments. The Southern Detachment consisted primarily of the 1st Siberian Army Corps. The Eastern Detachment consisted primarily of the 3rd Siberian Army Corps, and the General Reserve consisted of 28th Infantry Battalion. On the 14th, Fyodor Ivanov laid a field of 50 miles of Port Arthur, thereby executing one of the most successful mining operations in 15th Japanese battleship Hatsuse from Shikishima class was hit by 2 mines led by him. After the first explosion, she was taken in the tow by the Asahi, but hit a second mine, which ignited her magazines. She sank off Port Arthur within 2 minutes, with the loss of 493 lives. Same happened to Yashima. And the 10th Japanese Division came to Gushan early in the morning of 26th Kinshu or Kincho, attacked by Japanese Second Army under the command of General Oku Yasukata, who regarded the takeover of Chincho as the first stage of the Battle of Nanshan, consisting of 3 divisions. His forces attacked the city from the northeast at the 5, but by noon they were repulsed. Oku resumed his attack at the 14th, and 4 hours later, his remaining Russian defenders retreated southward. The Russian casualties were 1,400, whereas the Japanese lost 4,200 men. This is the beginning of the Battle of Nanshan in fortified Kwantung Peninsula. This point was so important for Japanese army by controlling it could cut Port Arthur from the rest of the Manchurian army in the north. High Command instructed Oku Yasukata, who had just landed with his second army in Pizzuo to conquer Dalny. However, he had to cross Nanshan. Awaiting him at this point was Russian defense line consisting of the 4th East Siberian Rifle Division under command of Alexander Foch. The Japanese deployed 38,500 troops, 30,000 of them riflemen, 216 guns and 48 machine guns, supported by 14 guns and brought 4 gun vessels at Chinchou Bay. On the Russian side, however, Lieutenant General Anatoly Stossel authorized the deployment of only 3,500 troops of the 5th East Siberian Reinforced Rifle Regiments under command of Colonel Nikolai Tretyakov. Despite the nearby presence of a whole division with about 18,000 troops and 131 guns, the force under Tretyakov had 65 guns and 10 machine guns, supported by 50 light guns and a single improvised gun vessel, Bobr. I suppose that's how you pronounce it, Bobr. In the Han Bay to the east, as well as about 5,000 Chinese coolies who earlier had helped dig a net of defense. Oku commenced his attack on the 25th of May with a shelling and an attack on the fortified town of Chinchou. The 4th Division, under the command of Lieutenant General Ogawa Mataji, encountered some difficulties conquering the town, which was defended by a Russian garrison of only 400 men. Due to the weather conditions, the occupation was postponed to the following day, and with the assistance of the 2 battalions of the 1st Division of Japanese force broke down the Russian defense in the morning. On the 26th of May 1904, Oku commenced shelling prior to an infantry attack on Nanshan. He made use of all 3 of his divisions, which included the 3rd Division, with the support of artillery fire from sea and land. By the evening, the Japanese troops had charged the hill 9 times, but despite the inferior forces at his disposal, Tretyakov successfully held them off. The Russian position presented no flanks, and except for enfiled fire of Japanese and Russian gun vessels, the battle was local at every point. Oku kept attacking until Russian defense collapsed entirely. Tretyakov ordered his troops to fall back to the 2nd defense line, but he then learned not only that Foch had ordered the abandonment of the railway station at Tafanction, but that he also did not commit the 3 regiments stationed to his south as reserve forces. It was pure chaos. The Russian troops began to flee to the south, and the exhausted Japanese did not pursue them. While Tretyakov lost 450 men during the day, he lost an additional 650 in retreat. Russian losses altogether were 1,416 killed or wounded. Japanese casualties were much greater, numbering 739 deaths and 4,459 wounded. During the short battle, Oku's army fired over 34,000 shells, a quantity exceeding that used during the entire First Sino-Japanese War. Next day, a group of 600 Russian civilians was evacuated from Dalny to Port Arthur. The Japanese awaited the arrival of two ammunition columns and a supply column before entering Dalny on 13th of the month. And woof! It was May, and it is just the beginning. God help me with these hard Manchurian names and English words. Who the hell wrote this? Oh, right, I am the writer. Forgot. If you like to follow this series or any other subject about 19th century, do not forget subscribe, ring the bell, and put the comment. I would love to read it. It is Baron Benjamin, and I would catch you on the next episode.